John Proctor, a seemingly ordinary man with a secret.
Adnan Syed, a teenage boy accused of killing his ex-girlfriend.
Is it wrong to hold on to your convictions?
Or is it okay?
John Proctor was convicted of witchcraft in a small town called Salem in 1692.
Adnan Syed was convicted of the murder of his ex-girlfriend, Hayman Lee, in January of 2000.
John let himself die because of his convictions.
Adnan has been sitting in jail for never confessing.
Adnan and John both had dangerous relationships that got them in trouble.
Adnan dated Hayman Lee, a pretty Korean girl of another religion. They had a pretty normal teenage relationship, other than the fact that they had different religions and had to keep their relationship secret from their parents. This caused some tension in their relationship. After they broke up, they remained friends. According to Jay, the state's main witness, Adnan's anger grew after the breakup and he lashed out and killed her in January. Adnan never confessed to her murder and has sat in jail ever since.
John Proctor was married to Elizabeth Proctor. They had a maid named Abigail. Abigail and John had an affair, and when his wife found out, she fired her. After that incident, Abigail and her friends were out in a wooded area chanting and dancing. Her uncle Paris caught them that night. The next morning, Abigail's cousin Betty ended up getting some strange illness, and they blamed it on witchcraft. The girls start telling the names of the people who they saw with the devil, and Abigail says Elizabeth Proctor is a witch. However, Elizabeth said, "If you believe I may do only good work in the world, yet be secretly bound to Satan, then I must tell you, sir, I do not believe it."
Adnan claimed then, and still claims today, that he had no reason to kill Hay. When she died, he called the police and insisted it couldn't be her. Even so, the only person the state concludes it could be is Adnan. I mean, he did ask her for a ride on the day she was murdered. But if Adnan really did kill her, why wouldn't he confess after all this time? Like John Proctor, the things that made him look guilty were relatively innocent actions.
John's wife Elizabeth was convicted of witchcraft. Abigail said that she sent her soul out to get her. Also, Abigail was stabbed in the stomach with a needle, and Elizabeth had a poppet in her house with a needle in its stomach. She was gifted the poppet by Mary Warren, who had made the poppet that day while sitting in court next to Abigail. More than likely, Abigail saw Mary Warren put the needle in the poppet's stomach and got the idea so that Elizabeth would die and she'd be with Mr. Proctor. When Elizabeth was taken to court, John defended her. Then he was convicted of witchcraft. The judge made him confess to the witchcraft, which he did. Then they made him sign the confession. After he signed the confession, he ripped it up and was found guilty. He was hung on August 19, 1692. His wife Elizabeth escaped the death penalty because she was with child.
I believe it is okay for John Proctor and Adnan Syed to hold on to their convictions. John let himself be hanged because if he lived, he would never be able to rid himself of that lie. You have major magic now. For now, I do think I see some shred of goodness in John Proctor. Not enough to weave a banner with, but wide enough to keep it from such dogs. He wanted to be honest and truthful and die an honorable man, instead of living life a liar. And if Adnan truly killed Hay, he likely would have confessed by now. Nobody's pride is big enough to let themselves sit in prison all their life. If I didn't kill my ex-girlfriend, I wouldn't confess either. Conclusively, it is okay to be honorable and tell the truth even if the consequences aren't favorable.